They'll say, he was horrible, he was terrible. It was a horrible situation. No, we'll do fine. I've watched some of the people that host. Jimmy Kimmel was horrible. Some of these people, if I can't beat out Jimmy Kimmel in terms of talent, then I don't think I should be president.
The night was supposed to be simple for Donald Trump. A quick jab, an easy laugh, a headline that felt like a victory lap. He went after Jimmy Kimmel the way he always does, slapping on a nickname, tossing out a ratings dig, recycling the worn-out no-talent line meant to give the audience the satisfaction of watching a bully score points in real time. Kimmel didn't bite. He walked out, thanked the crowd, and smiled as if nothing unusual had happened. No glare, no edge. He didn't even say Trump's name at first. Instead, he lifted a printed screenshot, the way a teacher holds up a confiscated note. "I saw this," Kimmel said evenly, "and I want to respond in the most presidential way possible by reading it slowly." The audience laughed, then settled into silence. Kimmel read the insult once, plain and emotionless, like a weather forecast. That restraint made it hit harder. No punchlines wrapped around it, no outrage to cushion it. Just the words exposed. He nodded. "Okay," he said. "Now let's try something even stranger. Let's assume you meant it." Then he faced the camera. "If you're the president," he said, "and you're spending your evening posting about a late-night host, that tells us one of two things. Either you're not very busy or you're not doing great." The room exploded.
Kidding, of course. The truth is, Donald Trump is he's a very talented person. I mean, the man can sing. The man can act.
Excuse me, where's the lobby?
Down the hall and to the left.
Thanks.
He can dance.
Kimmel never raised his voice. That was the first thing people noticed. Even before they noticed what he was saying, in a space designed for punchlines, crescendos, and applause cues, he did the opposite. He let the laughter roll through the room, waited for it to thin out, and then spoke again quietly, deliberately. "I'm not judging," he said. "I'm just observing." Calmly, that single word calmly did more work than any insult could have. It set the temperature for everything that followed. Not defensive, not reactive, just controlled. He tapped the desk and the screen behind him changed. No dramatic graphics, no bold arrows or red circles screaming for attention. Just a clean, minimalist timeline, dates simple. Undeniable, the restraint was intentional. By stripping away the spectacle, Kimmel forced the audience to focus on the substance. "Here's the ironic part," he said evenly. "Every time he tries to make fun of me, he ends up handing me material for my next monologue. Not a punchline, an observation." Then he walked the audience through it, one step at a time. First example, Trump insisting he never watches late-night television, followed by posts reacting directly to late-night television. Specific posts, specific dates. Second example, Trump claiming comedians are irrelevant, followed by evidence that he was paying close attention to what comedians were saying about him. Third example, Trump asserting that he was focused on serious, pressing issues, followed by timestamps showing him posting about Kimmel deep into the night. There was no exaggeration, no edit, just juxtaposition. Kimmel shrugged, the way someone does when the facts speak louder than they ever could. "I'm not saying he can't multitask," he said. "I'm saying this multitasking looks a lot like fixation." The audience didn't explode into wild cheers. They clapped, measured, appreciative, recognition rather than adrenaline. That distinction mattered. It meant the point had landed not as entertainment, but as understanding. Kimmel leaned forward slightly, lowering the distance between himself and the camera. "When someone tells you that you don't matter," he said, "they usually don't keep detailed receipts about you." That line didn't need embellishment. It didn't need a callback. It was self-contained, simple, and devastating in its logic. Then, instead of pressing harder, he softened. "Sir," he said politely, with just enough formality to underline the irony, "thank you for the free promotion. I'm honored to live rent-free in your head, especially in this economy. That's the only rent going down." That one broke through the calm. Big laugh. The release valve, humor re-entering after the logic had already done its work. Kimmel took a slow sip of water. No rush, no attempt to ride the applause. He waited, and before anyone accuses me of being mean, he added, "I'm not. Mean is trying to embarrass people. This is just arithmetic. Arithmetic, numbers counting, timestamps, patterns." He pointed back to the timeline, grounding the joke back in evidence. "If you're posting about me at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and 3 a.m., he said, "that's not power. That's a bedtime story written by someone who can't fall asleep." The audience lost it again. It was recognition layered on top of release. The kind of laugh that comes from seeing something articulated that had been floating unspoken. What made the moment linger wasn't the sharpness of the jokes. It was the discipline of the delivery. Kimmel didn't escalate. He didn't personalize beyond what was already public. He didn't speculate about motives or mental states. He let repetition expose itself. And then, crucially, he didn't overstay the point. He didn't hammer it into the ground. He didn't pile on examples until the audience begged for mercy. He trusted the structure he had built. He trusted the audience to connect the dots. That trust paid off almost immediately by morning. Trump responded again, louder, more personal, more emotional, and in doing so, the response didn't undermine Kimmel's argument, it validated it. The reaction followed the exact pattern that had just been calmly mapped out on national television. No engagement with the timeline. No dispute of the facts. No explanation for the late-night posts, just another attack. That was the moment the segment crystallized. Not because of anything Kimmel added, but because of what reality supplied on its own. The clip spread rapidly. Not because it featured a viral insult or a savage take, but because it modeled something rare in public discourse, restraint paired with clarity. Kimmel didn't win by volume. He didn't win by dominance. He didn't win by humiliation. He won by refusing to fight on the terms offered to him in a media environment that rewards outrage and escalation. That refusal felt almost radical. People aren't accustomed to watching someone remain calm while being targeted, let alone turn that calm into the point itself. Viewers later said the most memorable part wasn't any single joke or line. It was the posture, the way he sat, the way he paused, the way he let silence do part of the work, calm, measured, unshakable. He didn't try to overpower the moment. He shaped it. He presented the record. He asked one fair, unavoidable question. And then he stopped. That final restraint mattered as much as everything before it. By stopping, he avoided turning the segment into a rant. He avoided blurring the clarity with excess. He let the evidence breathe. That's why people shared the clip the way they did, not with captions designed to provoke, not with instructions on what to think, but simply, watch this. It wasn't an invitation to argue. It was an invitation to observe, to see how composure can dismantle bluster, to see how repetition exposes itself when it isn't interrupted, to see how calm, applied consistently, can be more disarming than anger ever could be. The segment didn't change the world. It didn't end political polarization. It didn't silence anyone permanently, but it demonstrated a method, a way to respond without becoming reactive, a way to confront without inflaming, a way to let patterns indict themselves. And in a culture saturated with noise, that method stood out. That's why it mattered. That's why it mattered.
She's just counting the minutes till those Epstein files come out. Trump said he was 98% involved in selecting the honorees at the Kennedy Center. The man doesn't know who half the scumbags he pardoned this month are, but he is laser focused on that.
But Kimmel didn't stay in joke mode. That's where the segment stopped being entertaining and started becoming sticky, the kind of moment people replay. Not for the laugh, but for the clarity. He shifted gears subtly, without announcing it. No drum roll. No tonal change big enough to alert the audience that something different was coming. Just a pause, and then a move so simple it felt almost disarming. One clean question. If I'm so untalented, he asked, why do you keep watching? For half a second, the room didn't know what to do with it. There was silence, not the awkward kind, but the processing kind. The kind that happens when a point lands before the brain has time to dress it up as a joke. Then the laughter hit, louder than before, not just because it was funny, but because it was obvious. Kimmel smiled, not triumphantly, not smugly. Just a small, knowing smile. That's the point, he said. He tried to make fun of me, but the mocking itself is the evidence. It was a clean inversion. No insult returned. No escalation, just logic. When someone is actually winning, he explained, they don't feel the need to announce it at midnight. Victory doesn't need constant reassurance. It doesn't need to refresh a timeline at 1 a.m., looking for affirmation, and then, almost on cue, reality cooperated by morning. Trump fired back again. The response was louder, sharper, more emotional, and in doing so, it didn't weaken Kimmel's point, it completed it. Like the final puzzle piece snapping into place, because the response didn't correct anything Kimmel had shown. It didn't challenge the dates. It didn't dispute the timeline. It didn't explain why someone who doesn't watch keeps watching. Instead, it did exactly what Kimmel had calmly predicted. It attacked the messenger, the same pattern. The same reflex, the same move now fully visible because it had just been explained out loud the night before. That's when the clip took off. Not because Kimmel yelled, not because he insulted harder, not because he won in the traditional late-night sense. It spread because he didn't do any of that. He stayed steady. He treated the insult like a receipt, something you don't argue with. You just hold up and let speak for itself. And then he stepped back. In a media culture trained to expect outrage, escalation, and constant emotional volatility, that restraint felt almost foreign. People weren't used to seeing someone refuse the bait so completely. They weren't used to watching a public figure respond to provocation with patience instead of performance. The calm flip felt shocking. And the follow-up, the real-world reaction that arrived right on schedule, proved it wasn't just comedy, it was clarity. Later, when viewers talked about this segment, something interesting happened. They didn't quote a single punchline as much as they described the feeling of watching it. The tone, the posture, the composure, they said. The best part wasn't any one joke, it was the stance.com measured unshakable. Kimmel didn't try to win a fight. He refused to have one. That distinction mattered, because fights are loud. They're chaotic. They reward whoever can generate the most heat in the shortest amount of time. But refusal exposes patterns. It slows things down. It forces repetition into focus. Kimmel showed the record. He asked one fair question, and then he stopped talking. No victory lap. No extended monologue hammering the point home. No need to press further. That restraint is what gave the moment weight. It trusted the audience to connect the dots themselves. It trusted the timeline to do the arguing. It trusted repetition. Trump's repetition to finish the thought. That's why people didn't share the clip to start arguments, they shared it quietly. With family group chats, with friends who didn't usually agree with them, with a simple message attached, if any at all: watch this. Not, can you believe this? Not, look how bad he got owned. Just, watch this. Because the segment wasn't about humiliation. It wasn't about dominance. It was about showing how to handle a bully without becoming one, especially in public, especially on live television. Especially when the incentive structure rewards the opposite. It modeled something rare: confidence without aggression, control without cruelty, humor without hostility. In a media ecosystem addicted to spectacle, that kind of discipline stands out. It lingers. It travels, and that's why the clip mattered. Not because it changed anyone's mind overnight, not because it delivered a knockout blow, but because it demonstrated a different way of responding, one rooted in evidence, patience, and self-possession. It showed what happens when claims meet records, when insults collide with time, when volume runs into calm. Right there, if moments like that matter to moments where noise gives way to proof, where reaction is replaced by record, then support the work that highlights them. Like the video so it reaches more people. Subscribe so these stories don't disappear under the churn. And turn on notifications if you believe truth, calmly presented, is worth repeating.